La show. All right. Probably should record it, so give me 1 second to do that.
Recording a show is probably the right idea.
Yeah. I watched the little Super Mario Brothers show. And
Did you
Yeah,
really?
I did, because you guys got me in the mood last week. It's really dumb, but I kind of enjoy it.
Did you see any of the Zelda cartoon?
No.
With the, well, excuse me, princess.
I think that stuff comes later in the season because it was bad. And not because it was bad, because they didn't need the filler at first, and then later they needed it. So I think that's what happened there. I don't know.
I feel like that show was predictive about the direction I was going in life and the types of stories I enjoyed, because I was like, oh, this show's okay. And then I saw the episode where Link dies, and I was like, they killed Link in the show.
Can you believe
it? This is my favorite episode. It was the one I liked the most.
Wow. Yeah, it's good.
He comes back.
Bo, you should watch it. I think you'd have a fun time with it. Oh, why won't this work? There. Test. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2.
I was muted. Sorry, which show? Which show?
The Super Mario Brothers Super Show. You should watch that.
I don't know.
Wow. A rousing endorsement.
Captain Lou.
Yep, Captain Lou Albano and the other guy.
Probably on YouTube. They're probably just free versions of.
It's on Netflix too, I think, or it's on Netflix here. I don't know if it's in Canada or not. But all right, here we go. It'll be a little bit unusual lead in, so just go with me here as I start it in 3. Whoops, hold on. Let's zoom that in and drag that out. Okay, begins in 3, 2, 1. All right, so there's this new World of Warcraft cinematic thing came out today. John, you've seen it, I guess?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Bo, you saw it. Did you see the Thrall thing?
I certainly did.
Okay, so I just wanted to, at the top of the show here, I'm Scott, by the way, the other guy on the show. I wanted to bring up a quick thing about that thing. So if you've listened to the Metzen interviews I did that were both on this feed and the Instance feed, what he did on that thing, even though this was written by Christy Golden, the dialogue that Thrall has, it's like they lifted it from our interview. And if you're going, what are you talking about? Go back and listen to it again. Not the interviews, but the intro, the cinematic. First fully rendered Thrall ever, by the way. So that's cool.
It was great to see him.
This is my international sign for fully rendered Thrall when I put my hands up.
Oh, you're filling out your frame.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I played bass for fully rendered Thrall in 1998. They were fantastic, but they kicked me out of the band. Anyway, go listen to that again, and you'll hear him say things like, I'm nobody's savior. I'm not leaving this life. Where's your family? They're here. Where? They're nearby. Like a lot of like Metzen theme in Thrall. And everyone's always said, and he's admitted himself, Thrall is kind of, his ego on screen. And so I recommend that combo because it'll add a little something to that and not just be your average cinematic. It'll be more than that.
Yeah, it was really moving. In context of listening to that interview, it made it better.
Yeah.
Even though I gotta say, what moved me the most was the revelations about Kerrigan and Raynor.
Oh right, in the interviews, yeah, that stuff was great.
Yeah. From the interview, I was like, I'm in the cinematic.
Yeah.
No, from the cinematic, just how personal that kind of was. It was nice to hear.
I agree. It's really good
because that storyline really resonated. I think more than it should have in StarCraft, and it's nice to hear. You should listen to the interview.
Yeah,
if you haven't heard the interview, go back and listen.
It was stuff we hadn't planned on. He just sort of spewed it out, and it was great. So go listen to those episodes if you haven't done it. And also, if you're looking for really down to the tickler coverage of that cinematic and all the recent goings on with WoW Classic, a whole bunch of stuff dropped this week, then check out the Instance on Friday, because that will be a big show. I can guarantee.
You gonna play WoW Classic?
I mean, I'm gonna dabble, but I can't see myself really throwing myself into it the way some players will.
I'm kind of curious to play it myself.
Yeah. I mean, if I know you will probably go hard for about a week and then wonder why you're doing it.
Well, the tough part is I'd be subbing just to play Classic because I'm not currently playing World of Warcraft.
Right.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, it would give you both, which you could jump
but I
around.
wouldn't play. Like I have limited time. I just do not have the time to play Warcraft in light of everything else. So
Wait, are you saying you don't have time to play Warcraft and Warcraft? Because you're getting two Warcrafts.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. Because remember, this is classic vanilla World of Warcraft. I'm going to be spending a lot of time leveling up my punching and my swords and whatever other weapons, whatever class I play needs. There'll be a lot of Quillboars dying in the Barrens.
Yeah,
It's going to take a lot of time.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have time. Even though it's expedient in the main World of Warcraft, Classic's going to take too much time.
Barons chat. Just waiting for you to do more Barons chatting.
I mean, this is not what we're talking about today, but part of the appeal of an MMO is just sitting in the MMO and socializing. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Well, I mean, it has its appeal. I just, here, actually, this is what I wish. John, I think you and I have talked about this before. I'm not sure. Someone I talked to about this. I thought it was you. They give me the ability, like Halo 1 Remastered, to switch between graphically what is modern WoW versus what was WoW in 2006 or 4 or 5.
Yeah.
That would be great because it's very ugly. I played this at BlizzCon. It's ugly, and that's okay. It was a thing of its time. It's many years old. Like, it was great looking then for what it was, but you look back now, and it is just kind of a nasty, gross-looking game, in my opinion. And the draw distance was terrible, and even though the draw distance in this is a little better, it's still brought way back to more better emulate what was happening in that early game. I don't know if I can do it on that level alone. If they let me look at this thing with new orc model, the way the kind of resolution that textures are at now and the draw distance that we have now, like all of those modern conveniences of just visual punch, I'd probably be more interested in that. But as it stands, I don't know if I can do it. I'm such a visual person. I need, I can play a game that's 5 years old and feel okay about it because we're still, it's not that different, but something that's this old and they are adhering to that aesthetic so closely because that's what the classic players want. I just don't know if I'm that guy. I don't think I'm that guy. Are you that guy, John? Is John there?
No.
Oh.
No, I am absolutely not. I might log in out of curiosity. It's been a long time since we've seen these zones pre-Cataclysm, and so I might want to go in and go, the Barrens, it's one place, and then log out. But it's not for me. It's for other people. I think it's great. I honestly, I'm excited to watch people who didn't play until after Cataclysm, stream it, because that would be interesting, right? Like, these are people that don't know what the game used to look like and used to play like and all of that. I would be curious as hell to see that, but I did it and I don't need to do it again.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. So I'll poke my head in. I already subbed to the main game, but I think the long term where I'm going to sink my time is the main game. That initial grind to like level 20 or whatever, which pretty much encompasses weeks of playtime for me back in the day, now takes like a couple hours. I don't want to do that again. I don't want to go, ooh, I don't have enough gold for this mount that I get at level 20. It's not even the fast mount. That comes at 40. And that's really expensive. And I can't even fly until they're out of classic. Like, there's a lot of stuff we've forgotten that will feel very grindy again. And of course, in its day, that thing innovated, but there was a reason they keep adding to it and changing it and tweaking it. It's because some of that stuff doesn't hold up. I don't know. We'll see. I don't want to make a judgment call. The beta's out there. I think I have a key, but I haven't tried it yet. I'm not really a beta guy. I'm not a beta male.
Oh, it's not an open beta deal?
Not yet. It's not. How did they? Well, it's a lot of influencers right now. I noticed, and others beyond that. But obviously, I think they had a little summit too, as well, kind of like they did for Heroes that time, where they had a bunch of streamers go out there and stuff. No, I don't think many of the podcasters heard much about it, but streaming, man, that's where it's at. It's where the kids are. They're gonna watch you stream your classic WoW
for this old product.
Yep.
That's where we want to get people, the cutting edge new generation.
Yeah, that's right. Get it where the kids are Fortniting, because they're the ones that want to play something that looks like janky ass 2004 all over again.
Yep.
Kids that weren't even born yet or were very young. I mean, my son, who's 19 tomorrow's his birthday, 19, was 4 years old when WoW was released on retail, and he was,
my God.
he was 3 when I was playing the beta. So,
Oh my God. I remember him doing Town Crier too.
Yeah.
Now he's
Yeah.
like,
yeah,
there's the Town Crier.
yeah. Now he's old.
Hey, you guys, Town Crier's here.
He shaves now. I didn't even shave till I was like 22, and he's already shaving. I don't really shave that much anyway. Actually, you can see that I shaved.
You shaved today.
This will take about a week and a half to show anything, because I don't grow hair at a rate that's reasonable or normal for an adult male. But anyway, it doesn't matter. That's not part of the point.
It's not about how fast you go. It's about
No.
the motion.
It's
and the look.
wow. It's
Not
welcome-
sure how that relates.
No,
but
it's our sex podcast. That's fine. Welcome. All right, let's get to the real elephant in the room. And again, tons of WoW talk Friday on the instance. I don't want to bore you all with it tonight on this show, because we're all
It's
about.
not gonna be boring. It's gonna
well,
be good.
not boring. You know what I mean. Let's talk instead about Rage 2, the big release of the week, the one that I've been waiting for since last E3 when it was announced. It's pretty much all I wanted this year. It was like my number one anticipated, certainly shooter, if not actual game, because past this I can't really think of much. That's usually just because I've forgotten there's some cool thing coming, or some surprise indie thing will grab me, or there's lots of things to come. But as far as a big new sort of AAA out the chute kind of game, Rage 2 is definitely on my radar for lots of reasons. The setting is a big deal to me. I love Wastelands. I love anything to do that's Mad Max related or adjacent. And I would definitely call this Mad Max adjacent, because they take some liberties here that I'll get into in a minute, whether I like it or not. And we're going to start with Bo and his impressions. We've all three played it. I've played at least, I don't know, 4.5 hours or something.
Okay.
It's not a ton, but it's it's a fair amount. I think I can give a decent piece of feedback on how I feel about it. But Rage 2, the gunplay. Bo, is it fun to play? Because in a shooter, you could have everything in the world. Best story, best graphics, best whatever, all that stuff. But if your shooting sucks, then no thanks, right? So how do you feel about that?
I mean, the using the guns and the gun things, I think overall is pretty fun.
Yeah.
I think there was some expectations that needed to be kept in check with it. I certainly had an expectation, because even though it was Avalanche working on this game, this also was a Bethesda id Software logo joint. So I'm coming off like Doom level expectations and Wolfenstein level expectations, and I think it misses in a lot of ways, and that kind of took away from my first impression. But overall, the gunplay feels good. But it's a game designed, I guess the best way to think about it is maybe like Crysis or Far Cry. I haven't played too much Far Cry, but I played, I like the Crysis games, in that you're a super soldier and you got to unlock abilities. So when you first start the game, you really suck, basically. And so even though the shooting feels good, it's, in Doom, you're double jumping around, you got little dashes. The enemies have behaviors and are very visually readable and also scary. And this game doesn't have that, I guess, with its gunplay. So it's a little disappointing, I guess, is how I first started playing the game. Like, the opening sucked. The gameplay, I think the gunplay is good. I played a bit more today, and I was definitely enjoying shooting at things.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of problems with the game that detract from it, I guess. So if you're looking for a shooter, you've got it.
Right.
You can shoot things in this game. You will enjoy shooting things in this game.
I would say if you're looking for some of the worst dialogue I've ever heard in my life, this is a game for you also.
It's pretty bad.
It's very bad.
And they've got some big talent. I'm pretty sure when I watched you stream it, that was Sam Riegel.
It was Sam Riegel.
Did
great.
And
he's great.
He's great, but the dialogue's not good. I took the female version. I think it's Marisha Ray. It really sounds like her.
Yeah, they only hire from those Critical Role people now. That's pretty much the deal.
That's it. That's 100% it. Nobody else.
Nobody else.
I'm pretty sure it's her. I should look that up.
I was gonna say, if only there was a way that we could find this information out.
Yeah, Rage 2 voice actors. Let's clear this up.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not Marisha Ray.
There we go.
Who is it?
It's Amanda C. Miller.
Oh.
Does she play Dungeons and Dragons? If not, I have no idea.
I don't know who that is.
I'm just kidding. But it really did sound like Marisha Ray, though. Okay. Well, it's funny that they got Sam Riegel, but not Marisha Ray. But I guess they're just actors. I don't even think they really advertised that Sam Riegel was the Walker character.
No, a lot of these guys, like so much stuff that Liam does, and I always get Sam and Liam mixed up. They kind of sound the same to me. A lot of their performance, or when they're just kind of being guy talking and not affecting an accent or something, they have a very similar tone, so it's hard for me to tell the difference. But a lot of that stuff, they just do it, and then they're in it, and they had to go to a what do you call it? What do you call it when you go in to see if you can get the part? A audition. They just go to auditions, and there's a bunch of voice actors there, and they just happen to get the deal, or they don't get it, or whatever. And I think what's interesting, or the difference is with that group is, and full disclosure, I'm friends with Liam, and so I don't want to sound like I'm promoting or demoting any of these ideas that are happening over there. But a lot of what happens, I think, is game developers are like, "Yo, we need a voice cast. Wouldn't we get some extra bump if we aligned ourselves with that crew and maybe worked with them as the voice actors? They're pros anyway." I don't know if there's been any backlash from others in the VO industry, certainly in games. I don't know, but I think there is a little of that going on, which that makes perfect sense to me. That thing is like this rock has hit. So if you're who was it? Pillars of Eternity 2. I think
they got the whole cast.
Yeah,
in there, right?
They were smart to do that. They advertised that they did that. They, got all kinds of cred for doing that. Like, that brought people to the game that may have not known about it. So, I mean, it was a marketing decision. And I think that's totally fine. The problem with this game is, fine actors across the board. It's not the actors. It's what they're being forced to deliver in this game is abysmal. And I don't know if it's because they thought they had the edge right, or the crazy Wastelander thing going right, or if they really just didn't know how to write well, or what, I don't know what. But have you done that lady yet? That they're not
This is all part of it. Like, we can talk about the dialogue's bad, but it's all part of also the design and concept. Because usually with a shooter game, like when it's really good, like Doom or Gears of War, it has these moments that really wow you and draw you in. And then it gives you fun stuff to do to get you playing the game pretty quick. It's like that whole authority, and like, it's like if you didn't know how to play guitar, but then you were playing guitar for Aerosmith, and it just went, it didn't sound like it. It just sounded horrible.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was so off. Everything about it was like, I don't want to play this game. I'm bored. Can I shoot something already? Like, I bought this game to shoot things, and you're giving me all this story that is just, capital letter name. Here's some characters. I don't care.
What about your sweet hologram training modes? You like those?
No. Okay, so here's the other thing. Every time you go to get something cool, it takes you to the most boring vanilla-ass room I've ever seen in my life and says, "You're going to do training now. Press the left button to dodge left." And I'm like, whatever, just get me out of the wasteland. I'll figure this. I don't need it. Make the tutorial optional. Why is it required before I unlock this thing? And I get going into a dream world if the dream world's cool and you make the tutorial a part of the narrative, but it's an empty room with and this is where it's the robot voices in this, I think, are poorly voice acted. They're not good lines, and they're also not acted very well, and it's just really bad. So I'm like, I keep going into these arcs, and the arcs keep sucking, but I get cool stuff out of them, so I want to do them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's just so many annoying things. When you pick up money, when you find one of those chests, the sound that it makes gets on my nerves. It goes, bang! Like, I'm just like, oh, there's a chest. Sweet, there's that blue crystal meth in there. Awesome. And then it goes, bang! And I'm like, stop making that noise. It is not a good noise to hear.
Yeah.
And also, it's like doing everything in its power to irritate me and not be cool. Even though there's a good game underneath. But there's also way too many screens that stop the action and make you press enter. You can't even mouse click it, right click. It's like, every 2 seconds the game freezes and some boring ass dialogue comes up, and I'm like, I don't want to read that. I'm playing a shooter game. I didn't come here for the narrative. Like,
Yeah.
quit
And then
freezing my game.
you can't even use the 10 key enter key to skip them. It's got some weird like, hey, we kind of built this for consoles, but we kind of forgot a couple of tweaks for mouse and
They
keyboard.
shouldn't even do that for consoles. Like, I think we're in a day and age where a shooter should be competent enough to autoplay the messages and let you continue to move around and do things and not have to stop you so many freaking times. Data pads, I hate picking them up because I pick them up and it's not like a cool data pad animation or anything. It's that boring ass black screen with some boring ass text on it that is going to tell me where something is, and I don't want to read it. But then a part of me likes to read and enjoy the stuff, so I feel a little bit between a rock and a hard place.
So you like a good codex.
I just think it depends on the game you're playing.
Yeah.
Like, I remember playing Dragon Age Origins and reading all the codexes because I was kind of into the lore. But this is a game, and this is I had this problem with the first one too. Imagine there's a game called Doom, and what's it about? Hell monsters and Doom, and you just shoot the stuff. The same company has a IP they've called Rage. There's no rage in this game.
No,
you're not even mad. Your guy's just kind of a smart ass, and like I'm like, there's just so much like this. Where's the rage? I want to feel a sense of that rage when I'm running around shooting people, and I think the overdrive in the game is meant to do that, and it's like pink distortion where you can't see anything. I'm not mad. I'm just like having epilepsy. There's just really a lot of stuff that's off about it, but I'm still enjoying playing it, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, totally. So, John, I want to throw it over to you. You've had some, similar amount of time with it, and I think you were reasonably excited about it. You're not Wasteland Mad Max crazy like I am necessarily, but you were into what they were selling. So where do you land on all that stuff?
Yeah, I think Bo nailed it. It's real middling, this game. Like, I don't think there's anything great about it. I think everything that I like about it is done better somewhere else. And I think that's kind of what's frustrating about it, is it's like, okay, well, the shooting's pretty decent, but Doom does it way better and gives me what I want, which is Doom actually had a really fun story. Yeah. And it managed to tell it without slowing me down. It managed to let me just rage through the game and still get that narrative. And like Bo said, this game constantly slams on the brakes. The opening bit of this game is the most boring opening to a game, a big game like this, that I have ever played. I got bad. Through the opening and they're like, you got a car now, and I was like, I'm turning you off now because I can't keep my damn eyes open because the game called Rage, which was this big shooter, is boring me to where I am falling asleep at my computer. And I turned it off and went to bed and didn't play it until the next day, where instead of starting up in my car, I started up just out in the world trying to figure out what to do, and my car was off on a horizon somewhere. So I go off to find it, and I'm like, all right, well, now I'm actually out in the world. There's nothing there. And then I see a guy on a little scooter stuck on the geometry going, and he's just stuck there. And I don't know if I'm supposed to shoot him or not. He's not really doing anything to me, but my icon turned red briefly when I aimed at him. So I'm like, I can't tell if this guy's a friend or a foe. He's not really hurting anybody, but I don't know. This game's called Rage, not Go Make Friends. So I start shooting him, and he's like, until he blows up. And I was just like, all right, well, there's the first enemy I fought in this big open world. And then I drove up to a gate, and they were like, they interrupted the action to be like, this gate's blocked. You need to liberate it. It's clearly a trap. And I was like, okay. So I get out, I walk up, there's guys, I shoot a bunch of barrels, there's explosions and stuff. They were like, you should activate rage mode or whatever it is. And I was like, I'm good. And I didn't. And so I was like, there's like one lady left. What am I going to activate that for? And so I killed her, and I opened up the gate, and it opened, and then I proceeded to loot everything at an abysmal pace because it's like, you gotta open it, hold this to open it, you got money, press this button to collect money. Okay, you got money. All right, I get it. Can I just
Yeah.
pick up the money?
And
Yeah.
that's the other criticism is that just to jive on what you're saying, just right there, is that you get to these areas and you want to shoot. So all you're doing is sitting around shooting, and then you get this dialogue saying there's like X amount of storage boxes, data pads. So then I spend 30 minutes hunting for the dumb boxes, and I'm like, I'm not doing shooting. I'm not raging. I'm looking for boxes that have like nothing special in them. You really only want the arc crates and maybe the data pads to find new locations, but like it's really boring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
For a game,
and
you're like, I wanted to come to this game to shoot, and I'm spending 30 minutes trying to hunt down all the items in this area I cleared out in 5 seconds.
Mm.
and then they said, "Oh, now you can go through the gate and explore the world." And I went, "You know what? I'm good." And I closed it. And you know what I did?
What?
Instead of playing this new exciting game,
Mm.
I opened up Mortal Kombat and watched the AI fight itself for a little while.
Wow. That's the
That
trade.
was more fun to me because
Well,
I just
simulators are a game type that people enjoy.
Whew.
it
Right.
is, but I just everything about it just is not what that game thinks it is. And that's the other thing. So I know I'm going to tread a little bit on a sensitive area for Bo here. I'm sorry. But you know how when we talked about the story in the world for Borderlands, and I was like, it's a game that thinks it's really cool and edgy, but kind of comes across sad? This is a game that does the same thing, but instead of going for comedy, it thinks it's really cool,
Mm.
and it isn't. It's like, hey guys, look at all this cool stuff we're doing, and you're just like,
It's
I don't
not
know.
cool.
I don't know if any of this is cool.
Yeah.
I kind
Yeah.
of don't think it is.
It's a little bit.
actually,
It's a
now
little
that I
weird how
think about
Doom
it.
Doom pulled this off. They somehow made Doom not only relevant again, but like incredibly relevant again. It was so much fun to play. Everything you did was cool. Nothing was boring and lame. Like they got everything right in that game, and they were proud of it, and they showed it as such. And then when you played it, you went, "Oh yeah, no, you are cool. Like you acting cool, Mr. Green Marine. You are actually cool in the end."
Yeah.
This has the opposite problem. It's look how cool we are. Look at all the cool stuff we can do. And then you actually get in and you go, no, this isn't, you're not nearly as cool as you think you are. In fact, Avalanche Games, you have made at least 2 other games that I love and are way cooler than this. And you didn't have to try that hard to convince me that they were cool. Like they were just cool because they were. And that's a bummer. So what I'm getting from you guys and what I feel like generally is it's a really fun shooter when you're shooting. The AI is interesting. The way they dodge and juke and jive is fun. The shotgun's one of my favorite shotguns in shooters. It's a great shotgun. The way they do alt fire stuff in there is cool. I would say it's not quite as mod cool as the way it was handled in Doom, but it's a similar kind of idea. That stuff's great. But it's just the rest of it is, and it's also a little bit samey. After about 4.5 hours into this thing, I am starting to kind of hit the same missions, side missions, kind of over and over. They're sort of the same. The story missions are varied and interesting, at least so far, but for the most part, it's starting to get very samey. And again, the minute to minute is fun, like not a problem. Having a good time with that. But the stuff on the road is not up to snuff with what they did with even Mad Max a few years ago, the same company. I mean, that game gave you, well, I mean, it had the IP to work with, so they had more maybe they could do thematically, but you would go chase down whole convoys of a big freaking truck in the front and 4 or 5 buggies on the side, all ripping down a road, and you got to take them all down, and you do it with harpoons and missile launchers, and war boys are jumping on the back of your car, and you're having to shake them off and turbo out of there and make them smash against another car to get them off your car. Otherwise, they're going to stab through the window and hurt you. Like, that was always intense and fun and crazy. None of that road stuff's happening here. There's a lot of driving, but none of that. Like, it's just, I don't know if that's because it's a first-person shooter or whatever, but this to me feels like an old Far Cry game with better shooting.
Yes, actually, that's one of the things I kept coming back to was if you told me that this was a up-res version of a game that came out 5 years ago, I would 100% believe that. Everything about this game plays like a game that's about 5 or 6 years old. But it's pretty, so you know they did a graphic overhaul or something, and that's what this game has kind of felt like as I was playing it. It's just, and I don't even mind the story stuff. Like there's a place for it, but I think because the shooting's so good, that's why I'm, even when I come up against the story, I think it's two things: the shooting's really good and the story they're presenting is bad. The story they're presenting is actually from like Prey days of first person shooters. It's as simple as there was a person you liked and they got killed by someone you don't like. You need to get out there and get revenge. And it's just like, oh man, this is every first person shooter from like the early 2000s. This was the plot. The only thing it's missing is, and they kidnapped your girlfriend. Like, that's the only thing that's just not quite there. It's really bad. And also, one more gripe with this game, and it's really bad intro. Do not do a big, I'm putting on the suit moment if putting on the suit doesn't make me do something cool.
No, it was embarrassing. It's embarrassing in this. Isn't it?
In Doom, you put on the suit and then you proceed to rip and tear enemies apart and punch monitors and be a cool guy. In this, you do this big, long suit putting on animation. It's like, oh man, I put on the Ranger suit. And they were even talking about it like it's a big deal. They're like, yeah, mom tried to keep you out of that for a long time. And you're like, yeah, now it's my time. What can it do for me? Jack shit is what it can do for you. There's not a thing you can do after you put it on.
Right.
You have a shitty jump.
Well, you can
run
open
at the same piece.
Oh, that's true. You can open arcs. Yeah.
Oh, it's so bad.
You can open arcs. That's true.
Open the arcs, and you've got midichlorians. They explained to you at some point you've got midichlorians in your bloodstream.
Basically, yeah.
So you can, when you go to the arcs, you activates your midichlorians.
Yeah, it's and the thing about that scene that really bugged me was, it's not so much that the suit is worthless and you don't do anything cool after. It's that you take it off a dead guy and you go through these motions as if you're putting on clothes, and she just stares at you while you do it. It's like this embarrassing change room where the lady at the ZCM or the lady at the Sears is having to stand in the room with you while you change it.
And there's a firefight going on with a giant thing. It's not even like a peaceful time.
Yeah. It's very odd. It's just tonally kind of all over the place. One segment I'll mention real quick. I'm sure there's others like this, but it's like a wave-based challenge, and you get in there. I forgot the name of the place, but you go in there and talk to this grandma who runs like a brothel/murder simulator. Okay. Do you guys get to her yet, by chance? No. Okay. She's one of the early. She's early if you take it, but I don't love wave-based sort of horde mode kind of stuff. It's not my thing, really, unless I'm with friends or something. Co-op in that regard is pretty fun, but when you're by yourself, it's like wave 2, wave 3, and they get harder and harder. It's not my bag. It's not really interesting to me, but I did it anyway. But it is the worst setup and dialogue. It's so bad. I need to go find it somewhere and then pull some audio out and play it on the show because it's so bad, like really bad, and competent actors doing their best. Yet the material they have, the stuff on paper, is just shite almighty. It's so bad.
I mean, even from that suit putting on moment, they're like, I still think some of whatever his name is in the suit. Like, what? He shows up and they're like, oh yeah, it's so-and-so. And then he gets his head bit off and they're like, oh, there he goes. And I'm like, oh, is this supposed to be a silly game?
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh man, he's dead. What are we going to do? I'm going to put on his suit. I guess there's still a bunch of him in there. And I'm like, what the hell is the tone of this game? What are they doing right now?
Yeah, and then also
I think it's meant to be irreverent. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, it's just not effective.
It gets satirical, and I don't think it's certainly not what I wanted. I don't know that I wanted serious, but I didn't want weak attempts at being a satire or Deadpool style or fourth wall breaking. Like,
imagine Deadpool but done wrong. That's what this is. That's a great comparison because that stuff's hard. I get that it's hard to create satire in a way that takes you along and feels good and doesn't feel forced or cheesy or like the accountant up the hall wrote it. But this feels like the accountant up the hall wrote it. And no offense to accountants, but it's not your strong suit, Ugh.
No, that's what I mean. There's nothing, and there's no overall. There's nothing wowing about that. Like, if you're going to do that kind of stuff, you're going to want to write comedy in such a way that strikes nerves, that speaks truth to power, because a lot of comedy does that. You know, I think that's what I loved Borderlands 2 for, and even seeing the Borderlands 3 demo, there is an EULA that you guys, the player character, has to sign up for at one point. Like,
Mhm.
I feel like at least for me, they earned it with Borderlands 2, striking some sacred cows there. And and I found out the villains of that game are Instagram stars.
Oh, what? Really?
Yeah, they're social media superstars, and I'm like, that's on Pulse. Like, I think there's a lot of people out there who would play this game would love the idea that a villain is one of these obnoxious Instagram stars and her brother. Yeah, she's a social media, like, she brags about having more followers than you and stuff
Oh,
like that.
nice. All right, I forgot that somehow.
So like, when it's on point, when it's prescient, when it's risky, it's good. When it's like, this stuff is all just like, not, it's the safest writing ever. Like, it's just, there's an occasional F-bomb in there. It just feels forced.
Big time.
There's two, when I got into Wellspring, there's these two guys that are dressed the same, but they're dressed in super tight white shorts and like a mini yellow vest. And I think the implication is that they're both kind of gay, I guess. And they're both bickering at each other about, they're wearing the same outfit. They're trying to make each other, you take off the outfit. I wore it first, and blah, blah, blah. And it just wasn't funny. Like, it just wasn't. I'm like, who find?
Someone thought it was funny, but
like,
they
they look ridiculous, but they're dressed like a village person. They're both dressed like village people. I don't know. It just didn't work. I was like, okay. I don't know. Yeah.
It's one of those games that is fine. It's okay.
I would say some of the shooting aspects are not great. But I want to hold judgment till it gets better, because I don't know about you guys, but I have a hard time making out the enemies.
Yeah, they're sort of blended into their surroundings for sure.
Yeah, they don't really look like I can tell what they're doing most of the time.
I like the force push thing where you can blow their armor off and then follow up with a shotgun blast. That feels really good. There's a few things like that, but like Doom's a better shooter. This is fine. This is okay. A better post-apocalyptic sort of, take on that world has been done by a few other people better, including, I think, Avalanche with Mad Max. And I think that this is more Mad Max adjacent, where there's a lot of tech I don't think should be in there. Like, tonally, I like end of world aesthetics. I don't want throbbing LED lights on my sweet robot villain.
There's this dude on Tinder in Wellspring. You'll get to it. He's like, swipe right.
Great,
I'll swipe
great.
left.
Can't wait to get to that guy.
I'm like, this is not waste. We don't have Tinder in the wasteland. You know what? We don't have water in the wasteland. That area, I went to one of the edges. There's a big ocean.
Yeah.
Blocking the whole thing in. And there are plants everywhere.
Yeah, that sucks. That's not right. That's wrong. And I know that part of this is the EcoPod supposedly came down from these satellites, from some timer, and they're making new life sprout up. I know that's some of that is in there. But again, that's very Mad Max adjacent. Like, you either need to be end of civilization, completely destroyed, and now live within those rules, or go completely the other way and make Halo. Like, why is this even set the way it's set? Why half Mad Max, half freaking
half Quake? It feels
Quake
like,
or something.
honestly.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I think there's a place for it. I don't mind that. I just don't think it does anything with it that tells me it's worth my time. Because like, I look at something like Horizon Zero Dawn, which was lush, full of life and all of that, like, but it was that idea of like, we're now so far from the apocalypse that now life has returned, life is changed, things are different. That made for an interesting world that I liked looking at and thought there was cool things in. And it still felt like a wasteland, even though it was full of jungles and it was full of trees and it had all this sort of stuff. It had its barren deserts too, but it still felt like an apocalypse and a post-apocalyptic world. Whereas Rage 2, it's like, I see what you guys are saying, even though I'm more inclined to be like, yeah, put less desert in it. That's fine by me.
Mhm.
I still am looking at it going, yeah, but why is it like this? It just feels like it doesn't know what it wants to be. It's like, hey, high-tech holograms. oh, here's a guy wearing a football helmet for a helmet now, and that's all they could find, and just
Right.
he's got pots and pans all over him. And it's like, well, wait, what do you want? Do you want the high tech, or do you want the shambled together stuff? So it just doesn't seem to know, and it doesn't seem to want to do anything interesting with it either.
I completely agree. This is 100% my complaint. And if that were better, I would be way more forgiving of some of these other issues. Because they haven't done that, they left me wondering why. And especially given the fact that supposedly a lot of this was ideas, content, and stuff torn from what was supposed to be a Mad Max sequel before all those lawsuits happened with George Miller and Warner Brothers, and everything got put on hold. So there was no sequel. And some of that got parlayed forward, and that's fine. But I don't know what. Like, there's a few things I can actually recognize from Mad Max, like the way you do certain, clearing out a camp gives you some certain rewards. There's a lot of similar systems being used there, but that's just not the same. So that's kind of what I wanted to get to here. When the game wasn't trying to, figure out its freaking tone, like when my character yells an F-bomb and then the very next scene goes, "Oh my gosh." I'm like, all right, what are you? You're either a swear bag sailor boy or you're not. Like, don't oh my gosh me after you just said the worst possible in context F-bomb to that lady. Like, who are you, dude? Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to get hung up on that. But what it made me do was go, I'm itchy for my post-apocalyptic desert wasteland, and it's not happening here. What's going on with my brain? So I went back to Mad Max and played 4 hours of that and cleared out some stuff. Because that game's great. I know some people don't like it, but I think it's an amazing game.
I have it installed. I haven't booted it up yet.
I love it. It's one of my favorite games. I love it.
Do want to? So you say it's actually based between the two. That's a better game.
Well, it's a different game because it's third person. It plays more structurally like open world games like Assassin's Creed or Arkham Knight. Yeah, because you're like third person and in fact, Arkham Knight's fighting system, the actual brawling system, is how you fight in the Mad Max game when you're going up against opponents.
Those are pretty fun.
Yeah, I like all those systems. People's complaint at the time was I heard a lot of things like, oh, it's so stark and desolate. But yeah, they nailed that.
It's an aesthetic thing.
Yes.
Basically.
Plenty to do, though. There's tons to do. And the focus being on the car, like the car is your main thing to upgrade all the time. You can do stuff with Max as well, but his car is really what matters. And it plays out more like an Assassin's Creed style game than it does, certainly more than a shooter. There are shotguns and stuff like that, but it's not a shooter by any stretch. Maybe that's just more my speed generally anyway. As far as like progression-based video games go, I think I prefer a third-person camera. I prefer a more RPG pace, and not just twitch shooting. So, whatever. That may vary for people depending on whether they like, like I said, if you like Far Cry games, this is kind of a Far Cry game. Maybe not as competent, but it's there. But I think Mad Max is a better game. And if you're trying to scratch that itch of we are in a horrible place, doing horrible things with what we have, we need to survive, and I want to get cooler and better over time, that's a better experience, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. But I want to say, I think Rage 2 has its draw, and I think it's okay. It's okay. It's just not great at anything. Fine. Yeah.
I think if you want a great shooter, pick up Doom. If you want a great story, maybe try one of the Fallout games, also by Bethesda.
Yeah.
If you want a great, post-apocalyptic car thing, get Mad Max.
Yeah.
Like, you can do everything that this game does across multiple different games, depending on what you're looking for. If you need all of those in the same spot, it's not awful, but I've had a really hard time sticking with it personally.
Yeah. It's going to take a lot for me. Like, if I'm just presented with, I'm talking about a very specific itch that I have, and I am very biased toward it and how I feel about it and why I think I want to play in that world. And this one just doesn't. There's something wrong here. I don't know what it is. I know what it is. It's just the tech. There's too much tech.
I think it's all aesthetic. Both in UI elements, like the noises are bad, the coloring. I think the pink is not. I thought that was just marketing. I didn't realize there was going to be so much in the game.
Yeah.
I don't think it works. Treat like it's aesthetic both in the UI and in the actual creatives, like the art and stuff like that, and in the writing, like the story, the presentation, the way encounters are. But I gave it a second go today, and it is enjoyable to play.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I would have gotten this game on a sale, I would have been like super stoked and play through it and then be done with it and happy I played it.
$29 would be a real sweet spot for this game, probably.
Well, that being said, I mean, I did contemplate returning it actually last night.
Mm.
But I think overall, I'll be satisfied in the long run.
Yeah.
I'm curious if going back to the original Rage, now that some time's gone by, if that game would be different, because I didn't play it very long and I just got bored and stopped playing it. But
I remember being similarly bummed out, but it's my problem was it felt like a tech demo and not a complete game. This feels like a complete game, but just not not expertly executed.
One of the things about the games like this too, like if you were to judge Diablo 3 on the first 20 levels of play,
right,
versus making it to the end of the game and getting those higher levels, it's a completely different game. And when Diablo first launched, you spent a lot of your time with the lower levels. I feel like that's why I'm reserving judgment a little bit, because I've only got 4 or 5 hours into the game. I've only found a couple of arcs. It could really change. Like I said, the opening was bad. I think the way they introduced ideas and concepts, the UI is bad, but I could see it actually getting better the more you play and unlock all the abilities and stuff.
Yeah, as a game,
I'm hoping
a game like that should be the hallmark of these games, right? If you seem cooler and better as time goes on. Your upgrades
my
are
second
cooler.
playthrough of Borderlands 2, there's 4 levels of New Game Plus. They actually copied the original Diablo 3 style and had like different levels of tiers of play. Once you get to those higher levels and you have lots of skill points and stuff, the game actually becomes way more fun than it does on your first playthrough, because there you're struggling just to level up and get anything nice. But once you have kind of like a crazy amount of abilities, it can get really a lot more fun. So I wonder if that's an element in this game.
It could be,
because it does have a pretty rapid DLC plan for the year. The two expansions of content are supposed to come out before the end of 2019.
Jeez,
as part of this, as well as there's like some monthly drops that are happening. So it actually has a pretty aggressive support plan, like post-launch plan, including what they've labeled as some kind of a 30-day update after the game. And because it is open world, I think there's some possibility that maybe actual reason to stay and enjoy the game in the long run could be in this game. It's not something I think it is known for in its games, but certainly Bethesda game. I mean, Elder Scrolls has gotten better with time. Maybe there's a kind of a plan with this game. It's just good enough. It's hard to recommend, though.
I agree, and they could improve things. It feels like some of it, though, is just story and content decisions that you can't change. They're not going to patch out hideous dialogue. At least not.
No,
I don't think they.
Well, yeah, I guess. Yeah, no, I don't think so.
DLC could change a lot of that. I mean, I'm old enough to remember that BioShock 2 was kind of dumpy until you got to the DLC, and it was amazing DLC. I also remember, I mean, Witcher 3 is great throughout, but that Blood and Wine expansion or a DLC is, by some accounting, some of the best written content in the history of ever. So, games can do a lot in their end game to improve things, but when it's story, narrative driven stuff like this, it's a little bit tricky. It's not like balancing abilities. It's, although they could reduce some of the cooldowns and all the cool shit you can do in this game. Some of this stuff's like 45 seconds long. It's ridiculous.
Well, there are perks, and that's another complaint, is that in the menu system, there's hidden like perks and unlocks. I don't know if you've missed any of them, but I know you can reduce the cooldown of dash to like 2 seconds, which is pretty great. And I've got an ability where I can double jump. Do you guys get the double jump yet?
No, I don't think so. Maybe. You can double jump, but then when you unlock it, you can also unlock perks for it. So I can float in the air for 3 seconds and not move, just anywhere in the air. And if I get kills, I can stay in the air. And it, like, getting the double jump really changes the game. That's what I mean. It's like when you just like do like noob jump, it's like, okay, whatever. But when you get the extra mobility from the double jump and you're kind of flying around,
it changes how fun the game is, and that's the only thing where I'm like, this game may get better if the abilities really become like really changes my pace and flow of combat, and if some of the encounters get tougher and longer and more involved than they have been, but the initial impression is really bad coming into the game. So I'm going to keep playing it, and I'll let you know if you guys aren't going to stick with it, because I'm enjoying it just enough that I'm going to keep going.
I'm going to hang with it. If I get in a bad place, I got Mad Max to carry me through. Because that game's so big, I still haven't completely 100%ed it, and I just love it. One of these days, you're going to play it, Bo, and you're going to like it. You're going to like it a lot.
I should do that soon.
All right.
I really love Mad Max.
I do too. And I think that game did a remarkable job of capturing what I love about it, despite the fact that I think
is the writing and voice acting like...
Oh, the writing's way better. The voice acting's way better. It's less
insane.
Well, it's just different writers, different artists, different whatever.
But Mad Max is with Warner Brothers and not with Bethesda. You think maybe that relationship was just different?
Maybe. I mean, I know that the IP, when it's an IP thing, people get really controlly about it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They're not making their own game. They're making Rage, and it's like, well, in the first Rage we had these things, so it's pillars of the franchise. We have to have in this game, and Avalanche is like, okay,
yeah.
I don't know.
Also, that wing stick isn't that fun at first. I just wanted to throw that out. It gets better as time goes on as you upgrade it. Because basically every weapon...
I haven't upgraded mine.
Every weapon has an upgrade path, and it does some pretty neat stuff later down the road, blowing dudes apart and all kinds of crazy stuff, but the early goings of that thing is just kind of dumb.
I was disappointed to find out that you have like their limited resource. I thought you just have a wind stick and it would just keep coming back to you.
So did I. I thought it was like your base weapon that you would always just have.
Like an Overwatch ability. Yeah. Like I just have the wing stick. Like just let me use it.
Yeah, like your fists or a base pistol or something that has unlimited ammo is just like going to be a thing, but you can only hold so many. You can upgrade how many that is later on, and they do come back to you. I think it's just that later when you upgrade them, they'll explode if you want them to, or other things, and so you do lose them and have to have an inventory.
Yeah, because I always hate burning grenades and those things, Yeah. So I'm just like, I only have so few. Better save it.
Yeah. I prefer grenades that are like Destiny does it where they're cooldowns. I like that. I wish that was more of a thing.
Same.
Cooldown grenades are cool. Anyway. That was a nice deep look, I think, at a game that is a big deal right now.
I've been looking forward to playing it for a long time, so I'm glad we had this talk.
Same here. We now know the complete list of games, or not complete, I should say, games that have been confirmed that are kind of a big deal, or at least should have our attention for E3 2019, which isn't that far away. We're like, 2.5, 3 weeks away from E3 or something? Holy crap, is that true? Hold on.
Oh, yeah, man, you're going to have a lot of long streams ahead of you real soon.
We're real soon on it, actually.
Remember those streams? That's fun stuff.
Ubisoft.
Here are the games that will be shown on floor and talked about. Anthem's on this list for some reason.
Pass.
Apex Legends is on this list. Battlefield 5. These are all games that are out, so I don't know why they're making a big deal about it. But anyway, after that you go to, this is all alphabetical.
Well, sorry.
Oh,
Apex Legends makes sense. They're kind of dying on the vine right now, at least in terms of Twitch viewership.
Right, but E3 is rarely like a place to talk about something that's already out there. So unless you're doing it on stage or something.
I don't know. Maybe they're doing a big enough update. Player Unknown's Battlegrounds did E3 thing when they introduced vaulting and crazy concepts like that.
That's true. I forgot about that.
That's the way you said that.
Remember that where you could vault through a window and they acted like that was the greatest technical achievement anyone's ever overcome?
I mean, we were playing the game at the time and we went, you can vault through a window? Hot damn, this changes everything.
Those were heady days. So much has changed since then. Anyway, Apex Legends, Battlefield 5, and then something called Battle Wake. I don't remember what that is. Anyone have memory of that being talked about? I don't know what that is.
I've never heard of this.
Bee Simulator.
Finally.
That's a Scott game.
Yeah.
That's what I want to watch you. What was that other game you played as a bee? Isn't there a bee game you played before?
Oh, did I? As a bee?
I am a bee or I'm a bug. Wasn't there one where you had to avoid getting stuck in like peanut butter and toast and stuff?
Yeah, no, you were the piece of bread. I am bread or whatever it was.
I am bread.
Yeah, that thing sucked. Oh, that was bad.
People enjoy watching you play that.
That was a frustration generator. I hated it.
Oh,
Anyway.
Battlewake looks like a pirate ship game.
Oh, okay, cool. I'm into
Oh,
that.
is that the Ubisoft deal?
No, that got delayed today. That's coming out now. That was supposed to be out this year. It's coming out in 2020 now. They're reevaluating the scope, whatever that means. But that's Skull and Bones, and I want that one pretty bad.
Yeah.
So,
I hope when they say reevaluating the scope, they mean that I'm not just going to be on the boat all the time.
yeah, maybe that's it.
I want to occasionally get off the boat. Part
Yeah.
of the fun of having the boat is to get off the boat so that I can later get on the boat again and set sail.
Right. Otherwise, just make Waterworld the game, and then
Yeah.
we're good. Let's see. Borderlands 3 we know is coming in a major way. Although, man, all the stuff swirling around Pitchford right now is just out of control.
He's going to get up on stage and burn E3 to the ground.
Just explode on
Yeah.
stage.
I just kind of think of him as like gaming's Job now.
He kind of is. It's
He's
actually
the president. He just does crazy stuff, and everyone's got to clean up after him. He assaults a guy at one of the GDC. Like,
Yeah.
just...
He's got porn on a USB drive. He left at a restaurant. He's got
But it wasn't really his. It belonged to Saddam Hussein. Or some weird plot
Yeah,
that we don't know
there's a
about.
bunch
That's
of
from Arrested Development, basically.
a bunch of weird stuff. We'll see what they do. And
It was
then
planted.
Cyberpunk 2077, probably the
Yes!
thing I want the most. I can't wait for that.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep. Please.
From
please.
CD Projekt Red. Very excited about that. Doom Eternal, also excited.
Yes!
Yep. You want your shooting? I'll bet you we got some shooting with that one. But it's real
It
good.
already looks good. They demoed like 45 minutes of gameplay. Like, it's sold.
It looks tight.
Sold.
Very excited about that. Dying Light 2.
Tight.
I like Dying Light
Oh.
1, so I'm into it.
Yes, this game looks crazy different, but amazing.
Yeah, I'm into it. I'm into where they're taking it. Actually, that's definitely a kind of a dark horse for me for E3 because that may end up impressing me a lot. FIFA 20, who gives a shit? Farmers Dynasty. You know what?
That
I
game
shouldn't
probably
say
makes
that.
it makes the most money out of any games on this list.
I shouldn't say that. There are people who loved. I like FIFA. It's fun to play. I play it with my son-in-law now.
This game probably makes more money than all the other games combined.
Just
It's
about.
soccer.
Guaranteed, it makes more than any of these on their own, except maybe
sure.
Apex Legends. I don't know how that's doing, but anyway, Farmers Dynasty sounds like my kind of game.
Yes, that's a Scott game.
It's a farming dating simulator. Finally, it's like farmers only.
No,
the
no,
game.
it's like Dynasty Warriors, but it's farming. You lead a crew of farmers out
Great.
to the field, and
Just with
Man,
rakes
you know
and
what I
shovels.
would play a game of from that Love, Death, and Robots. I don't know if those were the right things, but where all the farmers had mechs.
Yeah,
I would play a game of that, even though it was basically StarCraft.
It's that thing was a StarCraft, basically a StarCraft homage. Freaking Tychus played the main character's voice and everything. Like that thing was. I want two things out of that. I would play a game based on it, third-person mech game. And let's just make it its own like multi-episode series on Netflix. Like not just some short you throw into your short pile. A full-blown deal is what I want.
Man, a lot of those shorts I would revisit that world for.
I would too. I loved all that
They
stuff.
were so good.
maybe that was an elaborate demo to see what they would invest money in based on feedback.
Could be. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they suddenly announced, "Hey, these 3 things are all getting their own series or something." I mean, I'd be over the world excited.
There were very few of those I didn't like.
I
There
don't
were
think-
a few that I went, what was this one? The one where they fight Dracula was funny, but it was a little weird.
I loved that one stylistically, like style-wise. It was really cool, but it was also pointless. But
Yes.
really cool. So, yes, there are some pieces in there that you're like, "What the frick were you doing?" But I don't think I disliked any of them. I think I just may have been like, "That's your story? Run down the hall and everyone dies?" Like it was an odd thing.
That was good.
Yeah.
And he's afraid of cats, but then he's not. and
Yeah, it was weird.
I don't know. And then they blow him up with a bomb that says F you on it, and that was pretty good.
It was pretty good,
Kill.
and it had a cool style to it. It was really
It did.
neat looking.
It had like almost a Johnny Quest callback element to it.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have that little science kid at the beginning that gets cut in half
Yeah.
completely. I was like, oh, it's like Johnny Quest, and then he gets cut in half, and I was like, oh,
The Science
ended-
Kid. I love it.
it ended bad for Science
I hadn't
Kid.
thought of him as Science Kid, but now that you say it, that's totally what he was. Let's see. We got your Final Fantasy VII remake, which I went
It looks
from
good.
zero interest to high interest after that gameplay trailer.
Yeah, it
Because
looks good.
it looks
Actually, looks like I'm going to be playing Final Fantasy VII again.
Right. It looks like a game I would actually want to play, whereas 7 I didn't enjoy very much. I don't like random battles. I thought PS1 at the time, this is like 98 or something, I thought it looked real bad. Like, I was never a fan. Just couldn't do it for me. And I know there are people who...
Played thousands of hours of Final Fantasy VII, dude.
And
That
I
is
know it has
classic.
it's a classic for everybody, and I should feel differently, but this is more what I want. And
It's not a classic for everybody.
John,
It's not a classic for everybody, but for those, I mean, the story between Aerith, Cloud, and Sephiroth, it's just timeless. It's
I
a good
get
one.
real tribal and hipster about Final Fantasy is what I've learned,
Oh.
because every time people get excited about Final Fantasy VII, I'm self-aware of how ridiculous I've become, but I immediately go, it's Final Fantasy VII. I turn into like a 5-year-old about it, because it's not the one I like.
yeah.
I like 8 and I like 9.
Mhm.
And those are the
Oh,
ones
you
that I think
poor
are
man.
far
You like
better.
8?
And then a bunch of people are always like, "Oh, but it's 7," and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, 7 was a prelude to much
They didn't-
better
they
games
haven't made
that
a
came
good-
after.
They haven't made a good Final Fantasy since 7.
Ooh, dude, damn. That's some you're throwing
no.
down a gauntlet
Final
there.
Fantasy 7 was like the death knell. Like, oh,
Yeah, Final Fantasy 7 was the last one I played through, and I played through 13. And at the end, I was like, I just can't do this game. It's just
What's the one with the mostly
it
naked
lost
dancy
something.
ladies? They're like half naked all the time, dancing all the time, and then making like peace signs of the camera. Which one was that one?
wait, what
10
was that
maybe?
about?
10, probably 10 and 10-2 or whatever it was called.
Oh, 10-2.
10-2.
Yeah, that's where
I didn't play that one.
I don't like 10. I'm gonna just let me alienate myself from
No,
most
10
of
is
the
kind of
world.
crapo.
I don't like 7. I don't like 10. I don't like 11. I think 12 is the most obnoxious game ever, but there's some cool things hidden in the lore in that. But oh my gosh, it's bad.
How about 15 or whatever we're at?
Wait, no, I'm thinking of 13. 12 was like a ripoff of Star Wars in a really weird way, I think.
now? Okay.
There's one in there. I might be mixing them up now, but
Is it with 13 with lightning?
no, this was the one before that. It was like the last one for PS2. So I think that's 12.
Wait, is Lightning a character? Because this shows how dumb I am. Is that a character?
Yeah,
Lightning.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
Lightning's
Final
a
Fantasy
character.
13. There's Final Fantasy 13, Final Fantasy 13 Part 2, and then Part 3, and Lightning is the main character in all of them.
Okay. Without name.
And
What?
she's sure character design's cool and stuff, but it's just like not. It just didn't grab me. It was not.
Did
I
she?
was
lost
the
something.
same. I was the same way with 13 as well. I thought there was a cool element in that story because I think it's been a long time since I played, and we already have people mad at me for my takes on Final Fantasy. But I think the element was like the gods charged you with a task, and if you didn't do it, you turned to stone. And I was like, that's pretty freaking cool.
Mm,
That's a nifty concept.
mm.
And I was like, I like that. And then all the characters in it were just really obnoxiously bad.
Well, I'm just not that big of a Final Fantasy guy. However, the 7 remake does interest me. It looks neat. I worry it will be so different from what original fans like that it's gonna alienate them, but it might get me to play it. So I don't know.
I don't know. I think it's going to be pretty good because they've also chosen. They did an anime, well, not anime, but like an animated film, a CGI film.
Oh yeah, what was that called?
Advent Children.
Yes, I loved
And
that.
it's amazing.
It's
the animation
really
was
cool.
so good. The remixes of all the classic songs in there was incredible.
Yeah.
And this kind of looks like it's following that aesthetic. So I'm pretty happy with it. I think it just hit me at the right age. Sephiroth. Oh no! The final boss music in that is like the best music in all of Final Fantasy. Sephiroth. It's so good.
Well,
Here's what makes me feel better though,
Yeah.
is I tore open my soul before you all and I said, look, I understand my feelings on Final Fantasy or me as a 5-year-old acting like a child. and then I gave my thoughts, and the chat room exploded. And it's good to know I'm not the only one that turns into a 5-year-old as soon as you express your opinions on Final Fantasy.
I've got such fond memories, guys, though, of casting Knights of the Round and then mimicking Knights of the Round and then mimicking that and casting Knights of the Round, which had an animation that lasted like 40 minutes and then doing it like 40 times and just all the Knights of the Round Table smash. Like, they better do these summons in that like amazing way that this game did.
And see, that's the thing. I'm guessing that was one of the first ones that you played. For me, I think the reason why 7 doesn't land. Well, yeah, but I mean, like, of the PlayStation ones. Like, I got my PlayStation with Final Fantasy VIII. So it probably is not surprising that that's the one I glommed onto, and that when I went back to play 7 and was like, well, what's this about? I was like, this game. Yeah.
And Renoa's a bae. I mean, you know.
Who?
Renoa.
She the one that loses the
black
candle?
Or lady.
Oh, okay. What about the one that's got the hair that goes right in front, like that dumb-looking freaking little mountain hair that I hate?
You're talking about Aerith from Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I don't like her.
Don't worry, she's not around for long.
They've improved it in the remake. She's in the remake trailer, and you don't seem to have minded it.
No, she looks fine now. It just the character design back then was not my bag of shit.
I mean, yeah, I got to admit it was pretty rough, but there's so much soul in that game.
All right, well, that's coming. You also can get your hands on Fortnite Summer Block Party, Halo Infinite, John Wick Hex, turn-based John Wick game. It's interesting.
Yeah.
It looks kind of cool, although I still feel like the animation, something's weird. I can't put my finger on it.
It's like an indie game, but yeah.
Like, I'm not buying that on the strength of how it looks.
Well, I mean, me either, but I don't know. It needs to be a little tighter on that department. We'll see how they improve it. It's early days. That movie comes out this week. I'm very excited. Let's see. Monster Hunter World Iceborne. I should mention, well, I'll tell you later. I played some Monster Hunter World this last week, so I'll tell you why here coming up.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Overpass, Paranoia, Happiness is Mandatory, Scavengers, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which we get a lot more of, hopefully, so we know what that thing's about. Tavern Keeper, The Fisherman Fishing Planet, The Legends of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel 3, The Riftbreaker, The Sinking City, The Walking Dead Onslaught, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Ooh. Very excited. This was a big surprise announcement this last week. Can't believe we haven't mentioned it yet. Ubisoft just dropped this bomb. Really? Oh my gosh. So Ghost Recon Wildlands, still out there, still popular, still good. Great game. Love it. That's my favorite open world shooter right now that I would probably play over Rage 2, sadly. Anyway, Ghost Recon Breakpoint is like a direct sequel to that in a lot of ways and is coming out this October, and I am jazzed about it. J.K. Grammer in the chat will now regale us with nothing but nonstop chatter about this, but it looks great. We'll hear more about that then. Trine 4, The Nightmare Prince. So the fourth Trine movie, WRC 8, and Werewolf, The Apocalypse, Earthblood.
Down.
Hey, we did it. We came up with a title, everybody. Let's go home.
Yep. Werewolf, The Apocalypse, Earthblood. So there you go. Anyway, that all looks fine. Quick note.
What? The Legend of Heroes?
Yeah, that sounds like a mobile game from China.
You realize that sounds like League of Legends and Heroes of the Storm pasted together.
What? Maybe they're working together now.
The Legend of Heroes Trials of Cold Steel 3.
Okay. This is like an anime game.
Great. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, pass.
Hard pass. I tried the Steam Link on iOS today. It happened today, by the way, it came out. So Android and iOS users, you both got your Steam Link software. That means you can stream with the appropriate hardware, I suppose, in terms of like network speed and all that. You can stream to your mobile devices from Steam directly and play your Steam games with a controller or with on-screen controls. I would recommend the controller. And it seems pretty neat so far. Just before the show, we got it all running. It took me seconds to do. I ran Mad Max, ran around the world for a minute. It looked great. It was very responsive. I'm very excited to play with that a little bit more and never leave my bed again. That's going to be great.
You and Grandpa Joe.
Yep. Just gonna
Just
live.
gonna hang out in bed until a good
What?
opportunity comes along.
That's right.
Who's Grandpa Joe?
He's the chocolate factory guy, right?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
is.
The one that goes
I'm
with.
glad you got that. That would have been weird if nobody had gotten
Oh
that.
no, I
right.
totally. Yeah, I used to. That movie used to be in my veins as a kid, so I can't forget Uncle Joe.
You know what I watched electively the other day just to remind myself of how bad and out of place that scene was?
Mm.
The entire song of Cheer Up Charlie from that movie. That is a real handbrake on that movie.
Yeah.
But I had to look it up because I was like, I don't remember. I was like, there's something so odd about that movie. There's a part where she's like making soup out of clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to look it up, so I went back and watched that scene, and it's because she's doing laundry, but she's doing it in a barrel, and she's just got a big wooden fork that she's poking the barrel with.
Yeah.
And as a kid, when I saw that movie, I thought she was making soup out of clothes.
Yeah. Clothing
And
soup. Sure.
it really blew my
That's-
mind. I was like, they are super poor.
Yeah.
That's
They,
how poor
they
they are.
need food.
But it's not without precedent. Isn't there a cartoon where they put boot in soup to flavor it?
Yeah. Like old the Bugs Bunny stuff and stuff. Yeah. Absolutely.
I gotta think I've seen that before.
Yeah, or like there'll be a they'll have hobos in the cartoon, and the hobos are putting a boot in a cauldron, and everyone's drinking boot stew or boot coffee.
Yeah.
Absolutely, that's a thing. So, John, I don't think you were too far off the reservation there, which is a racist thing to say. I understand. Someone told me the other day. They said you can't say off the reservation anymore. I said why? And they said it's insensitive to Native Americans. And
You're too far off the esports arena.
beaten path, the esports arena. There you go. That's not racist at all. Just insensitive to esports fans. Let's see what else. So that's the thing, and it's cool. I'm going to play with it more. I'll let everybody know what Steam Link does next time we convene. Games we've been playing. We've talked about Rage 2. I also dabbled in Monster Hunter World, and
Is it good? Should we be playing it?
someone sent me a code, and I got decently far. It's very Capcom. This looks really good on PC. I can't speak to the console versions, but I'm running it, 60 frames, 4K, high texture pack thing, all that. Looks very nice. The game's only like a year old or something. I never got tempted by any of the Monster Hunter games, none of the Portable games. I know these are hugely popular, especially in Japan and other parts of Asia, and then over here they've got their fans, of course, but just never was my thing, so I never really bothered with it. This is a much more accessible version of all that, it seems. It's fun to be in that world, and so far I like it. I'm not doing anything horribly challenging because I'm not that far in, but apparently later on things get very Souls-like, sort of hard and very methodical boss fighty kind of things. Hit them right the first time, make sure you parry, you missed, you're dead, sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But I've not gotten that deep in to see much of that. There's way more story than I thought, and it's anime as shit, but it doesn't look anime. You do get to choose a silent protagonist, and this is one of my favorite things in the game. I picked this guy, he had long hair and a big scar over his eye. It was a pre-build, but you can also make your own characters or whatever. And I thought he would have a voice, because there was an option to choose what kind of voice, and you sample it, and it goes, that kind of like different voices in RPGs. This isn't an RPG, but anyway, chose the one I liked, and I thought that meant he would talk. He would have dialogue. Instead, everyone else talks but you. So he's very Dr. Morgan Freeman. No. Gordon Freeman. I don't know when the last time was I saw him. But anyway, he doesn't say anything to anyone, and so it's a lot of really awkward moments because they still show me reacting to the dialogue in these little cuts where the lady will go, "Oh, you're the new recruit, huh? I can't wait to go out and hunt some monsters with you, blah, blah, blah." And the camera will go to me, and I'll just go. It is really weird, dude. Really weird, but in a good way. It's very it's cheesy.
Is it a single player game, or is it an online multiplayer game?
That's a great question. Can I co-op in there? I don't know. I assume it's
it's designed for multiple people.
Okay.
Like the end game of Monster Hunter is typically get all your friends together because you have to work in tandem to take down the bigger beasts.
Yeah, and get your loot, your fat loot, and everything.
Yeah.
It may be something I fall off on. I just someone sent me a code, and I went, "Oh, all right, let's give this a shot." And I found myself kind of drawn in. The world's kind of cool. It's got just the kind of goofy I want. I want weird, and Capcom's great at the right kind of goofy. Like they're, famous for it for the old Resident Evil games, obviously, but when they try to take themselves really seriously, I find it hilarious. So it's working for me. I need to talk to people who really know what they're doing in that game to find out if it's for me in the long run, because I'm not really a Souls game guy, not really into the whole bang my head against the wall kind of stuff. We've talked about it on the show before, but we'll see. John, besides Rage 2,
Hi.
what have you been playing?
So I finally did my deeper dive into Final Fantasy XIV. Got past just running around doing fetch quests for people and got into some actual combat and getting new gear and leveling up in that game a bit, and I'm really liking it. It's interesting because it strikes me as it's like playing an MMO that started almost at the same place as like WoW when you think of the basis of a MMO.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like a game that just zigs every time WoW zagged. It just goes in a weird different direction. They put priorities on different things. They think other things have way more importance than stuff that WoW thinks is unimportant, and vice versa. And I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's funny, the character creator actually does the same thing where you pick your voice, but your character doesn't talk. So it's the same deal of you click to get the lines. And even though it's the same voice, sometimes it just doesn't match up because you click for the first line and the character will go, "All right." And then you click it again and they go, "Yeah, that's fun." And you're like, this isn't the same voice. That's not, what is this? But it's great. I like that dumb stuff. Just the dumb reactions are fun to click and just listen to a character go, "Ha ha ha, yeah, woo." And I don't know when that's going to come up, when my character is going to have to do that reaction, but I can't wait for it. I just can't wait until someone's like, "We've decided you're promoted." And they go, "Ha ha, yeah, woo."
There's a bit of that in ESO when you've done a big quest line and you finish it. And I go running back through a camp that I came through before, and none of them reacted when I came through, but leaving, all the characters, the lizard men, the orcs, it doesn't matter. They're all standing up now going, "Woo! Woo-hoo!" Like that, making that sound. Woo! Like that. So it sounds similar, which I like.
Yeah. I love that sort of stuff. And I don't know, it's just different. And it's funny to play a game where just the emphasis is in different places. Like, I'm looking at it from the perspective of somebody who's played a lot of American MMOs, and so I've unlocked about 4 different special ability attacks as a Lancer. And 2 of them synergize. When you press 1, it enhances the power of 2, so it makes sense. You open with this, then you hit with this. But the other abilities don't really do much different. It's just like another attack. Yeah. And so the WoW player in me is like, you've got 4 buttons that more or less do the same thing. Like, they are a little different. One's like more powerful if you're flanking. Okay, but it doesn't do the setup for the wombo like the other one. They all have the same cooldown, so it's not like it's faster. So I'm just sitting there staring at my toolbar going, the hell world is this? Why do I have 4 abilities that do basically the same thing? I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's good enough. I bought the new expansion. I'm gonna just keep going with that game. It is a fun diversion. I get kind of weird about these sorts of games. Like, I don't mind if people give me tips or give me advice and stuff like that, but I don't go seek it out early on. I like to kind of discover it and learn it on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that discovery phase, it's just been really fun, like learning, oh, I can do this and I can do this. The only thing that was really weird is I got to a cutscene that was angled in such a way that I'm sure if I was a guy character would have been fine. but as a girl character, it was basically a shot straight up her skirt. And I was like, well, I suddenly am very aware of the Japanese-ness of this video game.
Oh,
Like in a
yeah.
cinematic.
Yeah, just like, hey, congratulations, you killed a plant. Now you're standing up, and just a low-angle shot straight between their legs as they're standing up. And I was like, okay, cinematic work could be maybe a different angle. I don't know, but all right, here we go.
I mean, how anime is like story elements and stuff like that? Is it super silly and ridiculous, or are they? I don't know.
No, it's definitely an anime take on a fantasy world. So you've got a lot of people doing British accents for the voice work, which is fun. But there are still the elements of like, here's the tiny little race, and he's got funny little goggles, and he puts them on, and he's like, oh, we got to go do this. And then she just looks at him, and she's like, little guy. And he's like, I know. Some of that stuff is still in there, and it's goofy, but it's fun. I enjoyed it.
You just described anime perfectly. Like in one sentence, you did the whole thing. That's amazing. That's the entirety of anime in my mind, what you just did. Incredible. Holy crap. All right, anyway. So worth investing your time in, it sounds like, is a little bit of a diversion from WoW while you're sort of needing a break or need to do something else.
Yeah, it's been good.
Oh, there's the little guy with the one with the monocle. Little monocle guy.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm looking at him on this video here. Yeah, this looks... oh, there you are running around town. This isn't John, but I'm watching a video of somebody do it.
John's in the
Interesting.
video.
Yeah, and
Yep,
apparently
there's
this is... I'm watching somebody on the console version. Do you know if those are merged in terms of player bases, or are they separate the way ESO is separate?
I would guess separate, but I guess I don't know. And I like that this guy was sprinting. I don't know how to do that. So...
Wow. All right.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
I guess I'll discover that at some point.
It's a new...
Chat room is saying merged, so it's a little bit of both.
Oh, it is merged. Okay. At least I don't think ESO is merged, but I could be wrong. All right. Sorry. Your MK11, any other feelings there?
No, it's about the same. It's a complicated relationship. I think it's a good game. I'm still having fun with it. I wish that the single player content was encouraging me to get good at the actual game instead of trying to find ways around cheap tricks, but that's just my own personal take.
Yeah.
But I'm having fun unlocking stuff and customizing my characters and all of that. That's still a good time.
Bo still digging Overwatch and Arena, it looks like. How's that going?
Yeah, I played a bunch of Overwatch last week. The game's really fun.
Yeah.
I really like it.
I don't know why I didn't ever come up with a time to get with you during the week and play. We need to be playing that. Why aren't we playing
Yes. I don't know, but we can play it
that? That's
tonight,
dumb, because
tomorrow
I enjoy Overwatch a lot. Wait, tomorrow night's Thursday?
night. I might be busy tomorrow.
Oh, do you have
I meant
something
Friday.
on it?
I meant Friday night. Not
Oh, well, that may work
do
too.
show Thursday. So,
Yeah.
although maybe after, who knows?
All right. Well, we'll talk. And then Arena, still good? Still scratching your collectible card itch?
I'm logging in to do my quests. I get my gold so I can buy free packs. I'll just play a little bit now. It's my filler game, my 30 minutes kind of, play my goblins deck game. So I still like playing it.
All right.
Arena's good in a way that Hearthstone isn't for me. And I think because I could totally do that with Hearthstone. And I'm kind of interested in that. I guess there's a new version of whatever's their solo player content is that they're actually charging money for this latest expansion, the League of Evil, coming out next week.
Oh,
I'm curious about it. If it's really like the dream for all of us, I think is they do Slay the Spire.
yeah. They do
in.
that. I am all in on that. Like crazy.
So there was some talk that this year the solo content might be more elaborate or different in some way that doubles down on it or takes it further. And the fact that they haven't done this for a while, charging money for solo content
Mm-hmm.
makes me intensely curious. But I know they demoed some stuff, but I think I'm gonna wait to see if when it's released and see what people say and what it looks like.
Yeah.
Because if
Yeah.
it's worth playing, I'm totally back into Hearthstone to play some good single player content.
Yeah.
I'm in the same boat. I loved Kobolds and Catacombs. That is the highlight of Hearthstone for me. I've never had more fun than I did with that mode.
Yeah, until they quit
so-
giving you, until you realize they gave you nothing for playing it. Like there
Yeah.
is no progression. Like if that thing just had simple progression, they would have been the greatest single player card mode of all time. And it sounds like this is way more progression focused. It will cost money, which I'm happy to invest in if it's good. And yeah, like if they give me Slay the Spire Hearthstone edition, I'll play that all day and night. It's going to get real bad real quick. And that's natively on my phone.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there's that. One final thing that we'll do right now. Just a quick Game of Thrones spoiler-free thought or two, maybe a sort of a review from each of us about how things are going for this final season. I realize this is, off the beaten path. It's not about video games, but it's kind of hard to avoid. It's a huge part of the nerd culture, and we're not going to spoil anything. Zero wish to do that. I will just say this: if I had to give it a grade, because there's some seasons I would give an A+ to, I'd give this one a B+, and it's mostly based on the speed or the pacing at which the series is now using in a very shortened season. We only get 6 episodes here. We only had 6 and 7. And I would say season 7 had the same problem as 8. Like this has been a problem for the whole final 2 stretches. The speed, it was almost like it's like a podcast player where they suddenly jumped to 3 times speed. It was just like kind of overwhelming. Like, whoa, how are we getting? They got teleporters or something? Like, how'd you get across the world that fast? And
it's fast travel. Once you've already been there, you can go back super quick.
I guess so. But it's jarring in that way for me. But I really like everything else about where it's going and where it's headed, and I'm happy to see wherever they take it on the finale. I don't have any problem with any of the story points. I just think we got there so fast in the final 2 seasons that it would have benefited from the slow burn the series was known for in its early seasons, and the books are certainly known for that. You had a lot of lead up to big character moments, and these are those same kinds of character moments with way less lead up, and so it can be a little jarring. I have a feeling all of this will be better in binge mode, and outside of the hype bubble. Like watching seasons 7 through 8 as a single 12 episode arc is probably, guessing here, but probably a much more satisfying experience than the current pace that they're throwing at us and that we have to wait for each week or whatever. So that's where I'm at. I'd still give it I'm having a blast. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. I don't have much to say bad about it in its entirety, but if there's anything to complain about, it's just how fast it is. Go ahead, John.
Oh no, Bo can go. Let's give Bo.
I was gonna say I did that very thing, Scott. I mean, I started marathoning from episode 1 and basically right through seamlessly into this 8th season. And I gotta say, when you watch it that way, you're like, man, I've watched a lot of this show. I'm good with things going fast. Not that I wouldn't watch another 8 seasons of it, but I don't know. I'm completely fine. I've been glued to the screen every episode of season 8. I've watched each episode immediately after watching it the first time. So I've just got to give it like an A+.
Yeah,
like
it's still
great.
great.
You can look at it and say, yeah, there's stuff that's definitely different, but that doesn't make it bad in any way. Like it's maybe about expectations, but I think people are unrealistic. Like there's that petition going around to reshoot season. Now there's one of them going around for these things.
Yeah, that, by the way. Big double bird from me. You don't get to tell people how to make a thing. You either liked it or you didn't. Go away. You don't get to go rewrite it with your dumb petition.
Right. Like if you don't like, I don't know, a painting, you go to an art museum and you look at a painting, you don't say like, well, they really did a bad job of this painting because when I saw it, I didn't like it. It's like, either you liked it or you didn't, like, or you got something out of it or you didn't. Like and I think there's this sort of expectation with a commercial product that everyone there is designed to please as many people as possible and that they fail when they don't. And it's really got nothing to do with anything. And I think people just think they know things that they don't know, but we have the internet now, and they can form a mob just like they can for many other things, and they're doing so. I saw a clipping today from 1982 in a newspaper. I retweeted it, where some people in 1982 had done research. They had found out that Spock was going to die in Wrath of Khan, and they were protesting it with a petition. And they had done research to show that they shouldn't kill off Spock in this movie, and it was really bad. And there was an ad. It's an ad in the newspaper,
Yeah.
and I'm like, it just goes to show you this kind of stupidity is not new because you have Reddit. Everyone listening out there, it's been around since like before the internet. It's just louder now.
Yeah.
But it's no less moronic. Like, either don't like it or you just enjoy it for what it is, because they've already given you 6 great seasons and you know the show's coming to a close. So just shut up and enjoy it. And stop
Or
whinging.
if you don't enjoy it, fine, go watch something else. But like,
well, I mean, yeah, have a discourse about your criticisms and why you don't like it, but mostly just shut up. Like, it's actually bad because I'm watching it, and clearly a lot of work and effort went into this show. There's way more good than there is bad. So there's really not much point in forming some big critical analysis on why it's bad, because guess what? A lot of people put a lot of hard work on it, and it is successful and still way better than the finale of literally every other show. Name a show that's had a good finale.
Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad is a great finale.
Season 4 was a high point. Season 5 was rushed. He was a kingpin in the last season, arguably the most interesting part of his Godfather rise, and yet the best part is when he's dealing with Gus and Los Pollos
I love that last season. That last season was great.
I liked it too, but see, this is the point. Nobody's gonna agree. Your point. You're actually making. I think, Bo, that proves your point. You can't name the last time a finale was perfect, but also one that everybody was in unison on. Nobody has ever. There's always a difference of opinion.
No, but I would say no show. Shows are incredibly ambitious, and no show has ended perfect. I don't agree that Breaking Bad ended perfectly, and I don't have a single example to give anyone. So you're also comparing it to nothing.
Yeah.
So here's my controversial take on it, because I know I'm in the minority, it seems, or at least I'm with the people that are keeping their thoughts to themselves and not the ones that are screaming on the internet, or trying desperately to find evidence to support some wacky theory. Here's my wacky theory. Back in the day, we all had a real fun time, which was a lot of us either didn't care about spoilers or we read the books and we knew about certain events before they happened. And boy, did we have a jolly time. We recorded our loved ones and posted them on YouTube when they saw events like the Red Wedding, making fun of them. Look at my family when they freaked out about the Red Wedding. They didn't even know this was coming. Look at it. Look at how shocked and upset they were. And now suddenly we're all in that boat and something shocking happens. And now it's not funny anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're like, well, now it's just, I don't know, it's out of character. And then when people go on to point out exactly why it's in character, then it turns into, well, it's bad writing. It was poorly written anyway. And okay, I guess everybody suddenly became George R.R. Martin the moment that there wasn't a book to compare it to. But I guarantee you, if the book that contained the Red Wedding hadn't been out at the time that the show did that, there would have been people online typing up a storm. The show is ruining his vision for the future. There are so many threads that are unanswered that they just ended at this stupid wedding and all this stuff that didn't pay off. Oh my gosh, why would they set up a main character and then kill him off? I'm so upset.
Mm-hmm.
It's the theme of the show. It's been universal. Like it or hate it. And I feel like we're all in that boat now, and we're all sitting there, and now we're all in uncharted waters. And if you hated it, fine. And if you liked it, fine. But anybody who tells me, like, this is out of nowhere. No, it didn't. No, it isn't.
It may have gotten there quicker, but not out of nowhere. I agree with you.
This show has always been oppressive like this. It has always done unpopular things with characters you want to like. It was built on that hill, and Sean Bean's body is buried underneath it. Like, that's what they've constructed. And so
sorry.
I'm having a fine time with it. You know, I think watching the battle, not from 2 episodes ago or whenever, like that was one of the most tense episodes of TV that I've ever watched, and people got upset about, oh, it's too dark and things like that. But I just been having fun. Like, people nitpick about everything these days, and uh, I'm having a great time. I can't wait to see how it wraps up. I expect to be disappointed in some ways and excited in others, but this is one of the most talked about things that I've seen come out in media, where everyone has an opinion and everybody's talking about it and everybody's sharing it. So something was done correct.
Yeah.
Because whether you're happy or upset, you're talking about it and you watched it.
Right. And I have no problem with people sharing fiery opinions about one way or the other with each other. Where I start to have a problem is where people, A, spread bullshit around, or B, go after each other for it. Like, we got enough of that. We don't need y'all fighting over your opinions of Game of Thrones. Who gives a fiery hot shit? I'm excited because the show's great and I'm enjoying it. And if I wasn't enjoying it, I'd still going to catch this finale. Are you kidding me? But it doesn't give me a license to, like, DM somebody and call them an a-hole because they think that, Daenerys' storyline got weird or whatever it is.
What, did that happen to you?
Yeah. Couple times.
People, what is wrong with you?
I know, I don't get it.
What are wrong with you? I'm so good at language today.
Yeah.
No, it just listen to yourselves. You like a show called Game of Thrones, and no matter what you think about how the show's going, everyone probably still likes the Hound. So picture yourself saying you're on your way to the north to go get a skeleton to bring back to the big meetup, and you're griping to the Hound about all this stuff that peeved you about Game of Thrones. And think about what he would say, right? Quit your whinging, you C-word. You're a talker, and when talkers talk, it makes me hungry, and it might make me want to eat all the chickens and also kill you.
There you go.
Like, just think about how the Hound would react to all your griping about the show.
Yeah, he'd tell you to F off, you dirty. Yeah.
The show that you liked at some point, and I'm guaranteed no matter what because based on the show, no matter what, everyone still likes the Hound.
Yeah.
So try to win the Hound's respect, I think, and just enjoy it.
I like it. That's a good. I like it. And it's important to note, as some of the chat are suggesting, that this is us writing off opinions. Not at all. I'd love to hear all of the opinions.
I for sure am.
I'm not writing them off. I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to listen to them if they're not being dicks. As simple as that. Like, if you really don't like the course of something, I am down for a back and forth. Let's talk about it. Let's mush through it. I'll probably come to a point and go, oh, you know what? You're kind of right. I forgot about that in season 3. Yeah, but you're probably... And we'll come to some agreements, and we may disagree at the end. That's great. I'm into that. This community is all about that. Has been from the inception. But if you come in with all dicks blazing, F off. All right.
I mean, my mom has called me 3 times. 3 times on the phone to argue with me about my opinion on the episode.
Yeah.
I went to high school with dicks blazing.
She calls up and she says, and another thing, John, I just read this, and I've been having a great time talking to her about it. Like, that's the thing. That's what art is supposed to do. And, there's a lot of people that are probably going to roll their eyes and go, that episode wasn't art. Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm. It is. It's art you don't like, but it's art. And that's what it's supposed to do. Good art inspires discussion. If it was something everybody watched and went, okay, and moved on about their day, then it's probably not worth talking about, and it's probably not that great. So I, for one, have enjoyed getting texts and calls from my mom nonstop since the moment she saw it. It's just some people are handling it better than others. Mm-hmm. My mom has so far not completely insulted me. She insulted me a little. It's not a reasonable and loving amount.
She upset with what's happened with the show?
Yeah. But she's more upset that every time she's said, well, what about this? I've had an answer. Yeah. That's what's actually upsetting her. Isn't that she doesn't like what happened, but that she's annoyed that I have pointed out.
Yeah, because the subtext on that is you're calling her an idiot. like if she's like, what about this? And you're like, oh, easy. I know it. Didn't you see it? Idiot.
Well, Mom, if the shoe fits...
I don't know how you're phrasing it, but that's to me this when someone does that to me, and I'm guilty of doing that to people, and I'm like, I have quick answers where people don't understand. it makes. I've learned from feedback is that it makes people feel dumb if my tone is not good.
Yeah. No, yeah.
I don't know that that's exactly what you're doing, but
I doubt it. It seems like I know John enough to think that maybe some of his sardonic.
I don't want to talk about it, but there's specific things like what Varys is doing is not obvious.
Yeah,
Right.
but we can't talk about any of that.
But when you realize it, then you're like, oh shit, so much happened off camera that you're just forced to put together into your brain.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I think that makes it great.
Yeah.
Not bad, but not everyone agrees.
Side note, Chernobyl's really good and people should watch it. It's hardcore. It's really good. Like
So is Barry.
Yeah. Barry
Let's
is
just
also
throw out
amazing.
a bunch of TV shows we think.
Yeah, you want your HBO fix. The Veep finale was amazing. Great final season. Barry is maybe the best show on TV right now. And
When's Expanse coming back? That's all I want to know.
Soon. That show's amazing. Yeah, like the straight up Chernobyl as a miniseries about an actual historical event is really quality television and will probably win every Emmy it's up for. It's very good.
It's got the Madman guy in it.
It
right?
does, as a bunch of people
Oh,
you'll recognize.
and the Beltalowda from The Expanse, actually.
Yeah.
The OPA leader.
That's
That
right.
guy. I love that guy. He creeps me out so
the
much.
Belter terrorist leader guy is so good in that. Oh my gosh. Yeah, he's great in it. And he's also in very different role though. It's like totally different. He's big and opposing looking in The Expanse. And this he's just this little shrimpy guy. It's really weird. He
there's
transformed
something about
himself.
his voice. It's creepy.
Yeah. Well,
He's
the
actually
Belter
got a baseline creepy voice.
but the Belter accent is already amazing. It's an amazing affect and it's so it draws me into that show so much to hear people use it.
Yeah.
I wish I could
agree.
fake it because I love it. It's so good. Anyway, Chernobyl. See it. All right. Quick email. Actually, it comes in the form of a voicemail before we go today, and I'm going to play it for you now. This is a call for John. So, John,
Yay. All right.
spread your wings and receive this call. Here it is.
Hey, Scott, Bo, and John. I just wanted to make a quick callback to the inaugural episode of Core 2 and suggest the best mobile game I know of for John to try out. And that game is Iron Marines. It's made by the same people who did Kingdom Rush, if you know that series, and it's the best conversion of RTS for a touchscreen format that I've ever played.
Iron Reigns, John. Iron Reigns. I've played it. He's right. It's excellent. It's a RTS that makes sense on a touch screen. But I feel like no matter what I say or he says, it won't matter. You're not into it either way.
There you go.
Yeah.
You nailed it.
Okay, you guys got to sell them harder. Sell harder.
I appreciate it. I appreciate the recommendations. It's just there's a lot of hurdles for me with mobile. And one of the chief ones is we talk about this effect that happens in video gaming. I always compare it to Resident Evil, but there's a lot of games like this where they give you a rare bullet that's really strong. Like in Resident Evil, it's the Magnum bullets. And you're like, oh, I got to save these for when I really need them. And the next thing you know, you beat the game and you haven't fired a damn Magnum round the entire game because you just kept saving them. That's how I am with my phone battery life.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I think about playing a game on my phone, I think about, well, what if I need this battery life for later? What if my car breaks down and I need, heaven forbid, a phone to use?
Yeah.
I better not play this game. This is one of the primary hurdles. It's one I haven't talked about much, but it's another problem with mobile gaming, which is I always look at my phone and I go, I'm going to need that battery life. And I know I can get battery packs and all that. I have one, but I don't bring it with me. I'm worried about using it, but not enough to remember to do stuff. So that's another hurdle. But, you know, I appreciate people wanting to pull me into mobile gaming. I will entertain ideas. I do have a game on my phone.
Yeah.
I have Hearthstone on there.
Is that all you have? I have hundreds of games on my phone.
I have Hearthstone and Pokemon Go, if you consider it a game.
I have, let me see if I can tell you how many. Oh, I couldn't even count them. There's at least 200 games on here. A lot of them are old and I just haven't touched in a long time. Some are newer, but yeah, like, but at the same time, you're not entirely wrong. Like obviously I'm not playing these 200 games very much, but once in a while.
But you did at one point. I've played, there was one about building a boat. That was all right.
Yeah, that was good. It was a little match 3 deal.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, you're into that.
Yeah.
How would you feel about? I have Civilization on my phone and tablet, Civ 6, and it's full blown Civ 6, like nothing held back.
Yeah.
It's
I
really
have
good.
it on my iPad. Yeah,
you
I do.
should play that because it's your fingers, your mouse. It's the same game.
No, I know. But the problem is my iPad doesn't leave this desk area a lot, which is where Civ 6 also resides. So it's, Civ 6 down here on the iPad or Civ 6 up here on the much faster computer.
I can see that.
So,
Well, right now I'm looking for a flat surface to play Angry Birds AR.
oh man, you're finally doing it. You're
Yeah.
living the mobile life.
There it is. I've
Advanced
placed my level.
reality?
Yeah.
AR, augmented reality.
Yeah, no, yeah. So now I'm playing. It's actually pretty neat. It sets up a 3D. Oh, I won. Sweet. It sets up a 3D version of like the pig structures you're supposed to blow up in Angry Birds, and then now I can zoom around it, get really close, far from it, go around to other sides, just kind of like decide my best angle of trajectory, and then I do I pull back the slingshot and fire it in real space, and there's a whole level on my floor over here. It's pretty neat.
I have played Angry Birds.
Yeah. I'm not saying you should play Angry Birds. I just think AR tech is cool. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
You could see
That's
the value.
alright.
I'm not saying you want to sit and play a game forever, but AR is, when done right, AR is akin to VR in terms of my impressedness. I see it and go, oh, that's so rad. And
You know what I would want for an AR app?
Hmm.
Something that makes the inside of my car just look like a spaceship.
well, you like an AR helmet that you would wear, and it would make everything.
No,
in
I
there.
just put on my glasses and I'm just like, I'm going to go to work today. I'm going to make a lot of spaceship noises on the way. Let's make it look the part. And just all of a sudden it's all consoles with blinky lights and flip switches. And, maybe you can interact. You can flip some of the switches and
I think we're
you know,
getting
then
there, dude. We're getting there.
driving to work. I can just occasionally go, "Bram, pew, 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 pew," and then flip some switches. And, it makes my commute that much more realistic to what I do anyway.
I get a feeling we're not that far from that. So
Sure,
it's
there's
entirely
no
possible.
danger to consider with accidents in that situation.
It'll be
No,
fine.
if there's one time you want augmented reality, it's when you're operating a car.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, on that note, I would like to remind people if they want to continue to send us these voicemails, it's easy. Here's how easy it is. 801-471-0462. You call that number. It takes you to a voicemail line. You say, I'm here for Core, and you say whatever you want. And then I play it on the show. It's that easy. 801-471-0462. Or you can email us your thoughts, your comments, whatever, at frogpants.com/core. So do that. We'd love that. And if you've got another sales pitch, I would love to hear more sales pitches for why John should play the mobile game that you want to play. Also, a quick correction. That game is called something Marines. Hold on.
Spice Marine.
Space
Space
Marines.
Marines.
Iron Marines. There you go. Iron Marines is the name of that game that John won't play. Okay, so there's that.
But hey, we gave it a plug, and other people might play it, so it was not all lost. I don't want the caller to feel like they failed. You succeeded. For many other people out there who I'm sure will try it
There you go.
and like it.
Yes, and I think that that's going to do it for the show. We're going to play some games.
Aw.
Are our friends here today? We're playing with them today? Are we
Yeah,
playing?
I think so.
Well, that means
I
heroes,
saw
everybody.
Kyle in MTG Arena.
Oh,
But I'm sure we can get him out.
have you talked him into poking around in there? What's going on with that?
I don't know. I think I may have done some influencing.
Well, Bo, you are truly an influencer. Well done.
Yeah, you might be able to play WoW Classic.
Yeah.
That kind of.
Yeah. Go to the summit and do whatever they did over there. I have no idea. Anyway, if you're hearing me talk to Bo Schwartz, you can hear him all the time at Bo Schwartz on Twitter. He says all kinds of great stuff. I retweeted his whole thing about Reddit 1982. I thought that was a brilliant post and a great observation.
Oh, the whole thread was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, it was really
that
good.
It relates to. That one post, I was like, this looks like Reddit, but on newspaper.
Yeah, it was pretty great. So go check that out and follow him, Bo Schwartz. John is at John _ Jagger for John. That's what he is. I'm at Scott Johnson. And again, you can find us at frogpants.com/core. If you like our show and you dig it and you want to give a little bit back, it's super simple. Just head on over to patreon.com/core show and help us out. It makes a giant difference for us, and we would really appreciate it. That's patreon.com/core show. It's going to do it for us. For me, for John, for Bo. We'll see you next time. This show is part of the Frog Pants Network.
Frog Pants Network.
Get more shows like this at frogpants.com.
That's a good question.
Oh, hey, Bo, you want to hear something I played today on TMS from you?
Today?